Dr. Kilara had examined over 300 different species in her 12 years as a physician, and she prided herself on never showing surprise. Her compound eyes could spot a fever from across the room, and her delicate antennae could detect chemical imbalances in the air before any scanner beeped a warning. She had treated patients who breathed methane, patients whose blood was crystalline, and one memorable individual whose entire body could shift between liquid and solid states. Nothing in the medical bay rattled her anymore. Ryan Foster changed that within the first 10 minutes of his appointment. He walked into the examination room with an easy smile, carrying a large cup of some dark liquid that steamed gently. The smell hit Chilara's antennae immediately, and she recoiled slightly. It was bitter, acrid, and reminded her of the industrial solvents used in the station's lower maintenance decks. "Morning, Doc," Ryan said, setting the cup down on the counter. "Sorry I'm a bit late." "Rough weekend." Kilara tilted her triangular head, studying him. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes and a slight slouch to his posture. His skin seemed paler than the reference images in her database showed for humans, and there was a faint tremor in his hands. "You appear unwell," she said, her voice clicking softly through her translator. "Should we reschedule your examination?" "What?" "No, I'm fine." Ryan laughed and took a long drink from his cup. "Just the usual Monday morning blues. Hit me with whatever tests you need to run." Kilara made a note in her datapad. Humans often understated their symptoms, according to the brief species profile she had reviewed that morning. They were a newly contacted species, only 5 years into their membership in the galactic community, and medical data on them remained sparse. This was actually her first time conducting a full examination on one. Most human crew members on the station went to the human medical officer, Dr. Patricia Lee, but Patricia was visiting another station this week, so Ryan had been assigned to Kilara instead. She gestured to the examination platform with one of her forearms. "Please sit. I will need to take several readings and a blood sample for analysis. The process should not cause discomfort." Ryan hopped up onto the platform and rolled up his sleeve. "No problem. I'm used to needles." Kilara activated the medical scanner, a cylinder that descended from the ceiling and began emitting soft blue light. It hummed as it moved slowly down Ryan's body, collecting data on bone density, organ function, neural activity, and thousands of other metrics. The readings appeared on her screen, and she found herself checking them twice. Human bone structure was remarkably dense. Their muscle tissue showed unusual redundancy, and their internal temperature registered at 37 degrees Celsius, which seemed dangerously high for a carbon-based life form. "How are you feeling currently?" she asked, making notes. "Any pain, nausea, or difficulty breathing?" "I mean, I've got a bit of a headache," Ryan admitted, "and my stomach's not happy with me. But that's my own fault. I had way too much to drink on Saturday night." Kilara's antennae perked up with alarm. "You consumed contaminated water? That could explain your symptoms. We should run immediate toxin screening." "What?" "No, not water, beer, alcohol." Ryan grinned. "My buddy Simon had his birthday party and things got pretty wild. I probably should have stopped after the 6th or 7th drink, but you know how it goes." She did not know how it goes. She made another note, this time flagged as urgent. The human had deliberately consumed alcohol in quantities that exceeded safe levels. Alcohol was a known poison, a simple organic compound that destroyed cellular function. Most species could tolerate trace amounts, but anything beyond that required immediate medical intervention. The scanner finished its external sweep, and Kilara prepared the blood collection device. It was a small disc that would painlessly extract a sample through the skin, using a focused molecular field. She pressed it against Ryan's arm, and the device beeped its confirmation. A tiny vial filled with dark red blood appeared in the collection slot. "All done," she said. "The analysis will take approximately 5 minutes. You may drink your—" She paused, checking her translator. "Coffee while you wait." "Thanks." Ryan grabbed his cup and took another long drink. "This is my 3rd one today. Definitely need the caffeine kick." Kilara said nothing, but her mind was racing. Caffeine, another known toxin. She had read about it in her xenobiology courses. It was an alkaloid compound that plants produced as a natural pesticide. In most species, it caused cardiac arrest. Why was this human drinking it voluntarily, and in his 3rd dose of the day? The analysis machine beeped, and Kilara turned to check the results. Her eyes widened, all 6 of them focusing on the screen at once. She checked the calibration. She ran a diagnostic on the machine itself. She even extracted another blood sample and ran it through the backup analyzer in case the first machine was malfunctioning. Both machines returned identical results. The blood contained 49 distinct chemical compounds, each one flagged in red as a lethal toxin. Not potentially dangerous, not concerning. Lethal, the kind of substances that would kill most known species within minutes of exposure, and they were just circulating freely through Ryan's bloodstream at concentrations that should have liquefied his organs hours ago. Kilara's hands shook as she activated the emergency quarantine protocols. Armored shutters slammed down over the doors and windows. Red warning lights began to flash. An automated voice announced that the medical bay was now sealed due to a biological hazard. Ryan jumped, nearly spilling his coffee. Whoa, what's happening? Kilara turned to face him, her antennae flat against her head in a display of extreme distress. Mr. Foster, I need you to remain calm. You have been exposed to multiple lethal toxins. Your blood contains 49 different poisonous compounds. I am initiating emergency detoxification procedures immediately. Ryan stared at her. Then he looked down at his coffee. Then back at her. Wait, what day is it? It is Monday. Why does that matter? You are in critical danger. Ryan sighed deeply and set down his cup. Yeah, that tracks. Ryan watched the alien doctor scramble across the medical bay, her forearms moving in a blur as she pulled out vials and syringes and machines he did not recognize. The red warning lights made everything look like a nightclub, which was not helping his headache at all. He really should have taken some aspirin before coming in for this checkup. Please lie down flat, Dr. Kilara said, her voice high and clicking with stress. I am preparing a universal antitoxin cocktail. It may cause some discomfort, but it is necessary to save your life. Doc, seriously, I'm fine. Ryan stayed sitting on the examination platform. I feel like garbage, but that's just because I had too much fun this weekend. This happens sometimes. You do not understand the severity of your condition. Kilara brought over a tray of medical instruments. Your blood contains enough poisons to kill a Velnari 20 times over. Alcohol, caffeine, acetaminophen, nicotine, capsaicin, theobromine, and 42 other compounds. Some of these substances are used in chemical warfare. Ryan frowned. Okay, let's break this down. The alcohol is from Saturday night. The caffeine is from my coffee. Acetaminophen. That's just Tylenol. I took 2 pills this morning for my headache. Nicotine, yeah, I bummed a cigarette off Simon at the party. I'm trying to quit, but you know how it is when you're drinking. Capsaicin is from the spicy noodles I had for lunch yesterday. And theobromine, isn't that from chocolate? I had a candy bar from the vending machine on my way here. Kilara stopped moving. All 6 of her eyes focused on him with an intensity that was frankly unsettling. You consumed these substances deliberately? Well, yeah. I mean, the cigarette was probably a bad choice, but the rest is just normal stuff. Ryan scratched his head. Is this like an alien thing? Do these chemicals affect your species differently? Affect us differently? Kilara's antennae were vibrating so fast they were almost invisible. Mr. Foster, caffeine alone would stop my hearts within seconds. Alcohol would dissolve my internal membranes. Capsaicin is a neurotoxin that causes immediate paralysis in 70% of known species. And you are telling me you consumed these willingly? I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. Ryan held up his hands defensively. But humans eat and drink this stuff all the time. Coffee is super common. Almost everyone drinks it. And alcohol is like a social thing. People have been brewing beer for thousands of years on Earth. Kilara sat down heavily on her stool, which had to adjust its height to accommodate her insectoid legs. She was silent for a long moment, her antennae slowly settling back into their normal position. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, more controlled. Explain to me how you are alive. Ryan shrugged. I don't know the science behind it. I'm just an engineer, not a doctor. But yeah, humans can process a lot of stuff that's technically poisonous. Our livers are pretty tough. They break down the chemicals and filter them out. Like alcohol, right? Your body metabolizes it over time. That's why hangovers exist. It's your system cleaning out the toxins. Hangovers. Kilara repeated the word like it was in a foreign language. You are describing the symptoms of acute poisoning as a common occurrence. I guess. I never thought about it that way. Ryan reached for his coffee, then paused when he saw Kilara flinch. Sorry, is the smell bothering you? The vapors alone could be harmful, yes. She pulled up a holographic display and began typing rapidly. I need to understand this. Tell me about your weekend. What exactly did you consume? Ryan leaned back and tried to remember. Okay, so Friday night I had some beer with dinner. Nothing crazy, just a couple of drinks. Saturday I slept in, had coffee and toast for breakfast, went to the gym for a bit. Then Simon's party started around 6. We had pizza, wings with hot sauce, more beer. Someone brought tequila shots. I think I had maybe 8 or 9 of those. Lost count, honestly. Sunday I felt pretty rough, so I just stayed in bed, drank water, had some soup, took some Tylenol, watched movies. Today I'm back to normal, more or less. Chilara was typing everything he said, her eyes darting between him and her screen. The gymnasium. What happens there? You work out. Lift weights, run on treadmills, that kind of thing. It's exercise. You deliberately stress your body for no functional purpose? Well, it keeps you healthy. Builds muscle. Makes you stronger. Ryan could see he was not making this better. It's good for you. You just described consuming multiple poisons and then deliberately injuring your muscles. Chilara's voice was flat. And you claim this is healthy behavior. When you say it like that, humans sound insane. Yes. Chilara turned her screen toward him. Look at this. This is what caffeine does to Velnari neural tissue. Complete cellular death within 90 seconds of exposure. This is alcohol's effect on thorian liver function. Catastrophic failure. And this is capsaicin exposure on Deltan skin. 3rd-degree chemical burns. Ryan looked at the gruesome medical images and felt his stomach turn. Okay, that's pretty bad. And yet you consume these substances regularly. Multiple times per day. Chilara pulled the screen back. I need to report this to the station medical board. Humans may require special handling protocols if your entire species is this toxin-resistant. Toxin-resistant makes us sound like some kind of biological weapon. Ryan laughed nervously. We're just normal people. We just happen to come from a planet where a lot of plants produce defensive chemicals. And we evolved to handle them. It's not that weird. Mr. Foster. Chilara stood up and deactivated the quarantine protocols. The red lights stopped flashing and the shutters on the doors slowly rose. I have practiced medicine for 12 years across 300 species. I have never encountered anything like human biology. You are walking around with enough toxins in your blood to be classified as a chemical hazard, and you describe this as a rough Monday? Well, yeah, Monday mornings are always rough. Ryan slid off the examination platform. So am I clear to go? I've got a shift in engineering in 20 minutes. Chilara looked at him for a long moment. Yes, you are cleared. Your vital signs are somehow stable despite everything. But I am flagging your file for further study. And I am recommending that all humans on this station receive specialized medical monitoring. Whatever you think is best, Doc. Ryan grabbed his coffee cup, which was now lukewarm. He drank it anyway. Thanks for not pumping me full of antitoxins or whatever. You are welcome, I think. Chilara watched him head toward the door. Mr. Foster, one more question. How much worse can human toxin levels get? Ryan paused in the doorway and thought about it. Well, I've got a friend who drinks energy drinks like water and eats ghost peppers for fun. And my cousin once told me about a party where someone drank so much they couldn't remember 3 entire days. So I guess it could get pretty bad. Chilara made a note to never, under any circumstances, examine another human on a Monday morning. Commander Selroth hated emergency meetings. They always meant something had gone wrong. And on a station that housed 47 different species, things went wrong in creative and terrifying ways. He had dealt with atmospheric breaches, chemical spills, religious disputes that nearly turned violent, and one memorable incident involving fermented fruit in a zero-gravity storage bay. But when Dr. Chilara sent a priority alert about a potential biological hazard involving the human crew, his day took a sharp turn toward complicated. The conference room filled up quickly. Chilara arrived first carrying a datapad and looking rattled in a way Selroth had never seen before. His security officers stood at attention along the walls. The station's department heads filtered in one by one, all looking confused about why they had been summoned. Last to arrive was Patricia Lee, the human medical officer who had just returned from her trip and looked extremely tired. Thank you all for coming on short notice, Chilara began without preamble. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. This morning I examined a human crew member for routine health screening. The results were deeply concerning. She activated the holographic display in the center of the table. A three-dimensional image of a blood sample appeared, with dozens of chemical compounds highlighted in red. This is the blood of Ryan Foster, human engineer. As you can see, his system contains 49 distinct compounds that are classified as lethal toxins across the Galactic Medical Database. Concentration levels of these substances should have resulted in immediate death. However, Mr. Foster displayed no symptoms of distress and claimed to feel normal aside from minor discomfort he attributed to a social gathering over the weekend. Selroth leaned forward, his scaled hands folded on the table. You're telling me we have a human walking around the station with weapons-grade poisons in his bloodstream? Not weapons-grade, Patricia interrupted gently. Just normal Monday morning levels. Every head in the room turned toward her. She sighed and stood up, moving to the display. I can explain, but you are probably not going to like it. Please do explain, Selroth said carefully. Because right now it sounds like humans are a biological hazard. Patricia pulled up a different image showing a rotating model of human anatomy. Humans evolved on Earth, which is what we call a Class 4 death world in the galactic classification system. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, dense atmosphere, and a biosphere that actively tries to kill you. Most of the plants on Earth produce toxic compounds as defense mechanisms. Many animals are venomous. Even the air carries harmful microorganisms. The room was silent except for the hum of the ventilation system. So humans adapted, Patricia continued. We developed extremely efficient livers and kidneys that can process and eliminate toxins. We have redundant systems for almost everything. 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a liver that can regenerate itself. Our immune systems are aggressive to the point of sometimes attacking our own bodies. And we have pain tolerance levels that most species would consider pathological. The Food Services Director, a small furry creature named Pip, raised one paw. This explains something that has been bothering me. Humans keep requesting ingredients that are flagged in our database as inedible or harmful. Peppers, onions, garlic, mustard. I thought perhaps there was a translation error. No translation error, Patricia said. We eat those things because they taste good. The burning sensation from peppers is technically a pain response, but humans enjoy it. We call it spicy food. You enjoy pain? Kilara's antennae were vibrating again. In certain contexts, yes. We also enjoy exercise, which is basically controlled muscle damage. We enjoy extreme temperatures like saunas and ice baths. We seek out thrilling experiences that trigger fear responses. Human neurology is wired to sometimes interpret stress and pain as positive experiences. Selroth rubbed his temples, a gesture he had picked up from human crew members. What about the alcohol? Mr. Foster mentioned consuming large quantities of it at a social event. Alcohol is a depressant and a toxin, yes, but humans have been brewing and consuming it for approximately 10,000 years. Our bodies metabolize it, though not without side effects. Hangovers are essentially mild alcohol poisoning that the body recovers from over several hours. The engineering chief, a crystalline being who communicated through light pulses, flashed a series of colors that the translator rendered as, I have observed humans working in temperature ranges that should cause thermal damage. They simply remove clothing layers and continue working. Sometimes they appear to leak fluids through their skin. That is sweat, Patricia explained. We are one of the few species with a sophisticated evaporative cooling system. We can survive in a much wider temperature range than most species because we can regulate our body heat efficiently. Earth's temperature varies wildly depending on location and season, so we needed that adaptation. The recreation officer spoke up next. I need to ask about the human gymnasium. I inspected it last week because of noise complaints. The humans inside were lifting heavy objects repeatedly, running on machines that go nowhere and appeared to be in significant distress. I almost called medical services, but they insisted they were having fun. Exercise, Patricia confirmed. We damage our muscles slightly, they repair themselves stronger. It is how humans maintain physical fitness. On Earth, we evolved as persistence hunters. We did not have claws or venom or tough hides. What we had was endurance. We could chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days, until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would walk up and kill them with rocks or sharp sticks. Selroth stared at her. You are describing horror movie monsters. We are describing humans, Chilara said quietly. I have been researching Earth biology since this morning. Dr. Lee is underselling how extreme their planet is. Earth has multiple climate zones ranging from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts. It has predators that hunt humans. It has plants that can kill with a single touch. It has weather patterns that can level entire cities. And humans not only survived there, they thrived. They became the dominant species on a planet that actively tries to kill everything on it. Patricia nodded. We are adaptable. That is our primary survival trait. We can eat almost anything, live almost anywhere, and survive injuries that would kill most other species. Is it weird by galactic standards? Apparently yes, but it is normal for us. Selroth looked around the room at the assembled department heads. Recommendations? We need to update our medical database, Chilara said immediately. Current toxin levels that are lethal to other species should be flagged as normal for humans. We also need to establish baseline measurements for human health instead of trying to apply universal standards. Food Services needs clearer guidelines on what humans can safely eat, Pip added, which appears to be almost everything except a few specific compounds. The list of what they cannot eat is shorter than what they can. I want to review safety protocols for humans working in hazardous areas, the engineering chief pulsed. If they can tolerate extreme temperatures and certain chemical exposures better than protective equipment, we may be deploying resources inefficiently. Patricia held up a hand. I appreciate the thoroughness, but please remember that humans are still vulnerable. We can die. We do die from accidents and illness and violence. We just have a wider tolerance range than most species. Do not start treating us like we are invincible. Noted, Selroth said. He looked at Chilara. Is Mr. Foster actually in any danger? No. His toxin levels are elevated, but within what I am now understanding to be normal human parameters for a Monday morning after weekend social activities. She paused, though he did mention that these levels are lower than usual because he was trying to be responsible. Selroth closed his eyes. Of course they are. Dr. Chilara believed in the scientific method. Observation, hypothesis, experimentation, analysis. She had built her entire career on methodical research and careful documentation, so when she realized how little the galactic medical community understood about human biology, she decided to conduct a proper field study. With Ryan Foster's permission, she would shadow him for an entire day and document everything he consumed, every activity he performed, and every biological response she could measure. Ryan agreed immediately, though he seemed confused about why she found him so interesting. I'm just a regular guy, Doc, nothing special. That statement alone fascinated Chilara. Every human she had spoken to said similar things. They genuinely did not understand how unusual they were. She met Ryan outside his quarters at 6 in the morning. He looked even more tired than he had during the examination, his hair sticking up at odd angles and his eyes barely open. He held another one of those steaming cups of poison. Morning, he mumbled. Want some coffee? Absolutely not. Chilara activated her recording equipment. Please proceed with your normal routine. Ryan's normal routine began with drinking 16 ounces of near-boiling liquid that contained enough caffeine to stop Chilara's hearts. He drank it while standing in his small kitchen, staring at nothing, barely conscious. After approximately 10 minutes, his posture improved and his eyes opened fully. Okay, he said. Starting to feel human now, Chilara made a note. Humans required toxin intake to achieve basic functionality in morning hours. This explained so much about their behavior in early shift meetings. Breakfast consisted of orange juice, which was acidic enough to be uncomfortable, and a piece of bread that had been heated until parts of it turned black. Ryan scraped off the blackest parts and ate the rest. You are consuming carbon, Chilara observed. It's just a little burnt. Adds flavor. Ryan shrugged. My toaster's been acting up lately. After breakfast, Ryan went to the gymnasium. Chilara had visited this facility before, but she had never stayed to observe the humans actually using it. Now, watching Ryan and 3 other humans engage in their exercise routines, she understood why the recreation officer had been concerned. Ryan approached a machine with a bar attached to weighted plates. He positioned himself beneath the bar, gripped it with both hands and lifted it off its supports. Then he lowered it toward his chest and pushed it back up. He did this 10 times, muscles straining, face reddening, breathing hard. Then he rested for 1 minute and did it again. And again, why? Chilara asked after the 3rd set. Builds chest muscles, Ryan panted. Trying to get stronger. You are creating micro-tears in your muscle tissue. Yeah, that is how it works. They heal back tougher. Kilara watched another human running on a treadmill going nowhere, sweat pouring down her face. A third human was pulling on a rowing machine with such force that Kilara worried the equipment would break. All of them looked like they were in distress. All of them insisted they felt great. The most disturbing part was the smell. Humans secreted fluids through their skin when overheated, and the gymnasium reeked of it. Kilara had to activate her suit's air filtration system just to remain in the room. After an hour of this, Ryan finally stopped. His clothing was soaked with sweat. His skin was flushed. His breathing was elevated. And he smiled. "Good workout," he said. Lunch proved equally educational. Ryan went to the station cafeteria and ordered something called a burrito. It was large, wrapped in some kind of flatbread and filled with various substances Kilara had trouble identifying. When Ryan bit into it, red sauce dripped out. The smell hit her antennae like a physical force and she stumbled backward. "Sorry," Ryan said. "I got the hot sauce." "You okay?" "What is in that?" Kilara gasped. "Just peppers. Not even that spicy. Maybe medium heat?" Other species were evacuating the cafeteria. A Deltan at the next table started wheezing and had to leave. The Throrian server behind the counter was wearing what appeared to be a hazmat suit, just to handle the hot sauce bottles. Ryan ate the entire burrito without apparent discomfort. In fact, he seemed to be enjoying it. Halfway through, his nose started running and his eyes watered slightly. Kilara nearly called for medical assistance before Ryan wiped his face with a napkin and kept eating. "Clears out the sinuses," he explained. In the afternoon, Kilara followed Ryan to his engineering shift. He worked in the lower maintenance sections where temperature control was less precise. The thermometer on Kilara's suit read 32 degrees Celsius. She was uncomfortably warm even with her cooling systems active. Ryan rolled up his sleeves and got to work without complaint. Over the next 4 hours, Ryan repaired a coolant leak, replaced a faulty power coupling, and helped move heavy equipment. He lifted objects that weighed nearly as much as he did. He squeezed into spaces that seemed too small for his body. He worked with tools and chemicals that Kilara would only handle with full protective gear. At one point, he burned his hand on a hot pipe. He swore, ran it under cold water for 30 seconds, and went back to work. When Kilara insisted on examining the injury, she found the skin was red and would likely blister. Ryan shrugged it off. "It happens. I'll put some ointment on it later." Evening brought the most concerning observation yet. Ryan met 3 other humans at a bar on the station's recreation level. Kilara watched from a table across the room, her equipment recording everything. The humans ordered drinks and the server brought them glasses filled with various colored liquids. Kilara pulled up the chemical analysis on her datapad. Every single drink contained ethanol in concentrations between 12 and 40%. The humans drank them willingly, happily even. They laughed and told stories and ordered more drinks. After an hour, their speech patterns became less precise. Their movements were less coordinated. They were showing clear signs of neurological impairment. And they kept drinking. "They are poisoning themselves," Kilara whispered into her recorder, deliberately, in a social setting. For entertainment, Ryan noticed her watching and waved her over. "Hey, Doc, come join us," she approached cautiously. The 3 other humans introduced themselves as Simon, Kelly, and Deshawn. They all worked various jobs on the station. They all looked relaxed and content despite the toxins in their systems. "Want a drink?" Simon offered. "That would kill me," Kilara said honestly. "Oh, right, sorry." Simon looked genuinely apologetic. "Can we get you something else?" "Water, juice." "I am fine. Thank you." Kilara turned to Ryan. "How much alcohol have you consumed?" "I'm on my 3rd beer. So like 4.5% alcohol content. Maybe 48 ounces total liquid." Ryan did the math in his head, which was impressive given his impaired state. "I'm pacing myself tonight since it's a weekday. I'll probably have 1 more and then head home." "And tomorrow you will experience a hangover?" "Nah, not from 4 beers. I'll be fine." Kilara pulled up her medical database and showed him the entry for ethanol toxicity. This says symptoms include nausea, headache, sensitivity to light, and general malaise. These are poisoning symptoms. Well, yeah, technically. Ryan took another sip of his beer, but it's mild poisoning. The body processes it out. You feel rough for a few hours, drink some water, eat some food, and you are back to normal. It's not a big deal. You consider poisoning yourself to not be a big deal. Doc, If humans worried about every little toxin we encountered, we would never do anything. Ryan gestured broadly, nearly hitting Simon with his hand. We can't live our lives in fear. Earth is full of things that can hurt us. We learned to live with it. We adapted. And yes, sometimes we make choices that aren't great for our health. But that's life, you know. Chilara looked around the table at the 4 humans, all of them slowly poisoning themselves and calling it a good time. She thought about everything she had observed today. The caffeine dependence, the self-inflicted muscle damage, the consumption of chemical irritants for pleasure, the casual acceptance of minor injuries, the deliberate intake of neurotoxins for social bonding. Humans were not trying to be frightening or impressive. They simply existed in a way that was completely alien to her understanding of biology. They had evolved on a world so hostile that they had become walking chemical processing plants with pain tolerances that bordered on supernatural. And they thought it was normal. I need to expand my research, Kilara said quietly. The alarm started screaming at 2:15 in the afternoon during Gamma shift. Commander? Selroth was reviewing supply requisitions when every screen in his office flashed red and the automated emergency system began broadcasting in all 47 station languages simultaneously. Chemical leak. Sector 7, industrial solvent breach. Evacuate immediately. Selroth was moving before the announcement finished, his security training taking over. He pulled up the sector map on his wrist display while running toward the command center. Sector 7 was a manufacturing area, mostly automated, but there was a small crew that maintained the machines. He activated his communicator. Command center, report. How many people are in Sector 7? Scanning now, sir. The voice of his deputy, a Throrian named Vel, came through with unusual tension. We have 3 life signs, 2 Velnari maintenance workers and 1 inventory specialist, all in the eastern fabrication bay where the leak originated. Get rescue teams moving. Full hazmat protocols. Selroth reached the command center and took his position at the main console. The screens showed sensor data from Sector 7, and his stomach dropped when he saw the readings. What is that substance? Industrial degreaser, sir. Chemical designation TK77, used for cleaning heavy machinery. Vel pulled up the material safety data. Extremely toxic. Respiratory exposure causes immediate tissue damage. Skin contact results in chemical burns. Lethal concentration for most species is 0.03 parts per million. Current atmospheric levels in that sector are reading 8.4 parts per million. How long until the rescue teams can deploy? They need to suit up in full containment gear. Estimate 12 minutes, sir. Selroth looked at the life sign monitors. The 3 trapped workers were in the far corner of the fabrication bay, presumably trying to stay away from the leak. Their biosigns were already showing distress. 12 minutes might be too long. Can we vent the sector to space? Negative. The leak is spreading faster than the ventilation system can handle. Emergency bulkheads have sealed to prevent contamination of adjacent sectors. Vel was typing frantically. Sir, the chemical is eating through the standard bulkhead seals. If it breaches into Sector 6, we will have a cascade failure. What do we need to stop it? Manual shutdown of the storage tank and physical sealing of the breach point. But nobody can get in there without proper equipment, and even with suits, exposure time would be severely limited. A voice spoke up from behind Selroth. I can do it. Selroth turned to see Ryan Foster standing in the command center doorway, still in his engineering coveralls. 2 other humans stood behind him, a woman named Kelly and a man named Deshawn. All 3 looked serious but not panicked. Absolutely not, Selroth said. That environment would kill you in under 60 seconds. Maybe. Ryan stepped forward and looked at the sensor displays. But probably not. Humans have pretty good chemical resistance, and our lungs can handle a lot of irritants. If we move fast, we can shut down the tank and seal the breach before the chemical does serious damage. Your biology report said you were resilient, not invincible. True, but this is what we've got to work with. Ryan pulled up the sector schematic. Kelly works in environmental systems. She knows how to emergency seal bulkheads. Deshawn is a materials specialist. He can identify the right sealant compound. And I can shut down that tank. We all know the layout. We can be in and out in under 5 minutes. The rescue team will be ready in 12 minutes. The trapped workers don't have 12 minutes. Kelly stepped forward, her expression grim. Sir, we know the risks, but those people need help now, and we are the only ones who can reach them in time. Selroth looked at the three humans. He thought about the briefing he had attended, about how humans evolved on a death world where everything was trying to kill them. He thought about their toxin resistance, their redundant organs, their ability to survive injuries that would be immediately fatal to other species. He also thought about the three Velnari workers whose biosigns were getting weaker. Vel, get them basic respiratory protection and chemical-resistant gloves. That is all we have time for. Selroth met Ryan's eyes. 5 minutes maximum. If you are not out by then, I am pulling the emergency team in regardless of readiness. Understood, sir. Ryan turned to his companions. Let's move. Chilara burst into the command center just as the three humans were leaving. She had been in her lab analyzing blood samples when she heard the emergency alert. What is happening? 3 humans just volunteered for a rescue mission in a chemically contaminated zone. Selroth pulled up the live sensor feeds. Against my better judgment, I am allowing it. The chemical concentration would kill a human in minutes. Chilara looked at the readings in horror. Maybe. We are about to find out. The screen showed the 3 humans entering Sector 7 through an emergency access port. They wore simple breathing masks and thin gloves, protection that seemed absurdly inadequate for the environment. The moment they entered, the chemical sensors on their suits started registering exposure. Ryan moved toward the storage tank controls while Kelly and Deshawn split off toward the trapped workers. The humans' biosigns showed elevated heart rates and stress markers, but they remained functional. Chemical exposure increasing, Vel reported. Respiratory irritation detected in all 3 humans. On screen, Chilara could see Ryan reaching the control panel for the storage tank. His hands moved quickly over the interface, shutting down pumps and closing valves. Even through the mask, she could see his eyes were watering from the chemical vapors. Kelly reached the trapped Velnari workers first. 2 of them had collapsed while the third was barely conscious. She grabbed the nearest one and started dragging them toward the exit. Deshawn took the second one, moving with speed that seemed impossible given the weight he was carrying. Human biosigns deteriorating, Vel announced. Respiratory distress increasing. Skin irritation detected. Tank is shut down, Ryan's voice came through the communicator, rough and strained. Sealing the main breach now. Chilara watched him work, pulling heavy equipment over the damaged tank section and applying emergency sealant with his barely protected hands. The chemical was visibly eating through his gloves, but he did not stop. The entire process took 90 seconds that felt like hours. Breach sealed, Ryan gasped. Getting out now. Kelly and Deshawn had already exited with the first 2 Velnari workers. They handed them to the medical team waiting outside and ran back in for the third one. Kelly reached the last worker, hoisted them over her shoulder, and sprinted for the exit. Ryan was the last one out. He stumbled through the emergency door 4 minutes and 37 seconds after entering, pulled off his breathing mask, and immediately bent over coughing. All 3 humans were showing obvious signs of chemical exposure. Their skin was red and blistering in places. Their eyes were swollen and streaming tears. They were wheezing and gasping for breath. Chilara had a medical team on them immediately. She scanned Ryan first, her antennae trembling with stress. The readings were frightening. His lung tissue showed inflammation and minor damage. His skin had chemical burns across his hands and face. His blood chemistry was completely disrupted, with stress hormones at extreme levels. You need immediate treatment, Chilara said. The Velnari workers first. Ryan wheezed. Are they okay? They are being treated. You need to lie down. I'm fine. Just need to catch my breath. Ryan coughed again, harsh and painful. That stuff smelled worse than that time in college when Simon set the chemistry lab on fire. Despite everything, despite his obvious pain and injury, the human was making jokes. Kelly was already trying to wave off the medical technicians treating her burns. Deshawn was asking if the sector was secure and whether the chemical had been contained. You are all insane, Chilara said. But there was no heat in it. Only wonder. We're just doing our jobs, Kelly said. Anyone would have done the same. No, Selroth said quietly, watching from the command center screens. No, they would not have. The final medical reports came in an hour later. All 3 Velnari workers would survive, though they needed extensive treatment for chemical poisoning. The 3 humans had minor burns, respiratory irritation, and elevated toxin levels in their blood, but were expected to make full recoveries within a few days. Chilara ran a final blood test on Ryan before discharging him. His toxin count had increased from 49 to 64 compounds. Most of them were breakdown products from the industrial solvent, plus the usual caffeine and other substances he seemed to always have in his system. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I licked the inside of a chemical factory, but I'll live." Ryan smiled weakly. "Thanks for patching us up, Doc. You saved 3 lives today. Just happened to be the right people in the right place." He stood up slowly, wincing. "Though I'm definitely taking some extra pain medication when I get back to my quarters, and maybe a very long shower." After he left, Kilara sat alone in the medical bay and updated her research notes. Humans were not just toxin-resistant. They were capable of functioning in environments that would kill most species within seconds. They could endure pain and injury that would incapacitate others, and they treated these abilities as unremarkable. She thought about Ryan's last words before entering the contaminated sector. This is what we've got to work with. Not bragging, not showing off, just stating a simple fact about human capability and choosing to use it to save others. Terrifying, admirable, and somehow, both at once. Dr. Kilara spent 3 weeks compiling her research into a comprehensive medical database entry on human biology. She worked late into every night cycle, cross-referencing her observations with historical data from Earth, consulting with Patricia Lee on human medical standards, and documenting everything she had learned. The resulting file was over 400 pages long and included sections on toxin metabolism, pain tolerance, regenerative capability, environmental adaptation, and something she called casual heroism syndrome, before Patricia convinced her to remove that part. When she finally submitted the report to the Galactic Medical Council, she expected some acknowledgement, perhaps a few questions, maybe a request for additional data. What she did not expect was for the report to spread across the entire galactic network within 48 hours. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know about humans. The report was downloaded millions of times. Medical facilities across known space requested copies. Universities added it to their xenobiology curricula. And somewhere on a station 3 systems away, someone made a joke about humans drinking poison for fun that became a viral meme. The station's human population reacted to their newfound fame with typical human confusion. Most of them seemed genuinely baffled that anyone found them interesting. Ryan, when asked about being cited specifically in the report, just shrugged and said he still did not understand what the big deal was. Kilara was in her office reviewing the latest requests for human medical data when Patricia stopped by. The human doctor carried 2 cups, one containing that poisonous coffee substance and one with a sweet-smelling herbal tea that was safe for Velnari consumption. "Thought you could use a break," Patricia said, setting the tea on Kilara's desk. "You have been working non-stop since the report went public. There is so much interest. I am trying to respond to everyone." Kilara took the tea gratefully. 3 different universities want to establish human biology research programs. 5 medical facilities have requested human consultants, and I received a very strange message from a security company asking if humans are available for hire as bodyguards. That last one does not surprise me. Patricia sat down, cradling her coffee. Humans have always been good at protection work. We are naturally alert, we can handle stress well, and we are hard to kill. Makes sense that other species would want that. The report has changed how the station views humans. I have noticed other species treating your crew members differently. Some seem frightened. Others are fascinated. Some of both, probably. Patricia took a sip of her coffee. "How do you feel about humans now, after everything you have learned?" Kilara considered the question carefully. "I am still processing it. When I first discovered Ryan's toxin levels, I thought I was dealing with a medical emergency. Now I understand that what I was seeing was just a normal human existing in a normal way. It required a fundamental shift in my thinking. That is what most species go through when they really get to know us." Patricia smiled. "We do not mean to be scary. We are just ourselves. But you are objectively terrifying by galactic standards." Kilara pulled up one of her data files. "Your species consumes substances that would kill 70% of known life forms. You deliberately damage your bodies for recreation. You can survive injuries that would be immediately fatal to most others. You evolved on a planet so hostile that simply existing there required adaptations that make you functionally superhuman by galactic standards. When you put it like that, I guess we do sound pretty intense. Patricia laughed. But from our perspective, we are just doing what comes naturally. Earth did not give us a choice. We adapted or died, and we adapted really, really well. A notification appeared on Chilara's screen. Another message from the medical council. This one marked priority. She opened it and read quickly, her antennae rising in surprise. They want me to present my findings at the Galactic Medical Summit next month, in person. That is a huge honor. You should go. They also want me to bring a human subject for demonstration purposes. Chilara looked up at Patricia. Would Ryan be willing? You would have to ask him, but probably. He has been pretty cooperative with your research so far. Chilara found Ryan in the engineering bay later that day, working on a power coupling repair. He listened to her request while continuing to work, his hands moving confidently through the complex mechanism. A medical summit? Like with doctors from all over the galaxy? Yes. They want to see a human in person and ask questions about your biology. I would be there to present the research, but they specifically requested a human volunteer. Sure, I'll do it. Ryan did not even hesitate. Sounds interesting. Never been to a big scientific conference before. You understand they will want to run tests? Take blood samples, measure your responses to various stimuli, document your capabilities. Yeah, that is fine. Like the stuff you've already been doing, right? More extensive.
And in front of an audience. Ryan paused and looked at her properly for the first time since she arrived.
Doc, is this actually important? Like scientifically important? Yes. Your species is unique in ways that challenge our understanding of biology. The more we learn about humans, the better we can provide medical care, establish proper safety protocols, and integrate your species into galactic society. Your participation could help millions of people. Then I'm in. Just let me know when and where. The medical summit took place on a neutral station near the galactic core, a massive facility that could accommodate representatives from hundreds of different species. Chilara and Ryan arrived 2 days early to prepare. Ryan spent most of that time being stared at by other conference attendees who had never seen a human before. The presentation took place in the main auditorium, which seated 2,000. Every seat was filled. Chilara had never spoken to such a large audience before, and her antennae trembled with nervousness as she took the stage. Thank you for attending, she began. Today I will be presenting my research on human biology, focusing specifically on their unique toxin resistance and environmental adaptability. This research has been conducted over the past 2 months aboard the trading station, where I serve as Chief Medical Officer. She walked through her findings methodically, the initial blood work that had triggered her concern, the discovery that humans regularly consumed poisons, the observations of their daily habits, the chemical exposure incident that had demonstrated their remarkable resilience. Throughout the presentation, Ryan stood beside her, calmly allowing himself to be scanned and measured and discussed like a biological specimen. When she reached the section on chemical resistance, she called for Ryan to demonstrate. He pulled out a small bottle from his pocket. This is hot sauce, Ryan explained to the audience, made from peppers that produce capsaicin, which is a neurotoxin that causes pain responses in most species. Humans eat it regularly because we enjoy the sensation. He opened the bottle and poured a small amount onto his hand, then licked it off. Several members of the audience recoiled. One species representative left the auditorium entirely. Spicy, Ryan commented. Maybe 7 out of 10 on the heat scale. Pretty good flavor, though. Chilara pulled up a chemical analysis of the sauce. The capsaicin concentration in that substance would cause chemical burns on Velnari skin. Ryan just consumed it orally with no protective equipment. The questions started immediately after the main presentation. Doctors and researchers from dozens of species wanted to know everything. How much alcohol could humans safely consume? What were the limits of their temperature tolerance? Could they really regenerate liver tissue? What about their pain threshold? Ryan answered everything patiently. Yes, human livers could regenerate up to 70% of their mass. Yes, humans could survive in temperatures ranging from -40 to +50 degrees Celsius, with minimal protection. Yes, they felt pain, but their nervous systems allowed them to function through levels of pain that would incapacitate most other species. Yes, they really did exercise by deliberately damaging their muscles. Near the end of the question period, a doctor from a species Chilara did not recognize stood up. I have reviewed your research extensively, Dr. Chilara. My question is for the human directly. Mr. Foster, do you consider yourself unusual among your species? No, not really. Ryan thought about it. I'm pretty average, actually. I drink a bit, but not as much as some people. I work out sometimes, but I'm not super fit. I eat normal food. I've got a desk job, basically. There are humans way tougher than me. Athletes, soldiers, people who work in extreme environments. I'm just a regular guy. The doctor sat down slowly, looking disturbed. The implications were clear. If Ryan was average and he could survive chemical exposures that would kill most species, what could the exceptional humans do? After the presentation, dozens of researchers approached Kilara with requests for collaboration, data sharing, and joint research projects. Several medical facilities offered her positions with substantial pay increases. A major university wanted to establish a human biology research center with her as director. Patricia, who had attended the conference to provide medical oversight for Ryan, found Kilara in a quiet corridor afterward. You did well, Patricia said. That presentation will change how the galaxy sees humans. I hope I represented your species fairly. I tried to be objective while still conveying how remarkable you are. You did great. And Ryan was perfect, just being himself and showing everyone that humans are not trying to be impressive. We just exist, Patricia paused. What will you do now? You have a lot of offers. I am staying on the station, Kilara said without hesitation. There is still so much to learn and I have access to an entire human crew to study. Besides, someone needs to monitor Ryan's Monday morning toxin levels. Patricia laughed. He did mention he has a party next weekend. You might want to schedule his checkup for Tuesday instead. Back on the station, life gradually returned to normal. The initial shock of human biology faded, as other species grew accustomed to their presence. The cafeteria started stocking more human-friendly foods, including a section specifically for items that were toxic to other species. The gymnasium expanded to accommodate more human exercise equipment, and the medical bay updated all its protocols to account for human physiological standards. Kilara continued her research, documenting everything she learned. She maintained a weekly check-in with Ryan, who remained cheerfully cooperative even when she asked him to explain particularly strange human behaviors. 3 months after the summit, she ran into Ryan in the station's common area. He was drinking coffee as usual and reading something on his data pad. His toxin count that morning had been 53 compounds, elevated slightly from his Monday average due to what he called Taco Tuesday. How are you feeling? Kilara asked, sitting across from him. Pretty good. Engineering is quiet today, so I'm just catching up on some reading. He looked up and smiled. How about you? Still getting requests from the medical summit? Yes, constantly. Your species has become the most researched topic in galactic biology. Everyone wants to understand how humans work. Still weird to me that people find us so interesting. Ryan took a sip of his coffee. We are just living our lives. That is precisely what makes you fascinating. Kilara folded her hands on the table. You do not see yourselves as special or unusual. You simply exist in a way that happens to be extraordinary by galactic standards. It is that disconnect between your self-perception and reality that I find most intriguing. So what you are saying is we're weird, but we don't know we're weird. Essentially, yes, Ryan laughed. Fair enough. At least we're the fun kind of weird and not the scary kind. You are both, Kilara said gently, and that is acceptable. She updated Ryan's medical file one more time before leaving for her next appointment. The entry had grown considerably since that first examination. Pages of notes, test results, observations, and analyses. But the final line remained the same as the day she wrote it. Patient baseline toxicity, 49 plus compounds. Status normal for Mondays. Species designation, absolutely resilient. Prognosis will definitely outlive us all.